This is part of our test bench where we calibrate every single meter before we send it out. I'm going to use two M1 transducers, which are for 2-inch pipe and above. And so here's my 2-inch pipe. The first thing I want to do with any pipe is to use my calipers or whatever I need, and I can measure it. In this case, it says my 2-inch pipe is 2.38 inches. And another thing that's quite important is that the instructions in the manual say that you need to be 10 diameters from any elbows or anything. And in this case, I'm 2 inches, and so I want to be about 20 inches from the elbow, and so I'm in this area right there. That'll give me the most accuracy. I'm going to hook up these two transducers. First, I'm going to set my machine up for the 2-inch pipe. I need to set my machine up for whatever size and type of pipe that I'm using. So I'm going to take the machine, I'm going to turn it on, and the first thing I'm going to do is to go to menu 1 and use my outer dimension. In this case, my outer dimension of my pipe is 2.375, which I can enter 2.375, enter. The next thing I'm going to do is push M13, which gives me my inner diameter. So I push enter, and my inner diameter in this case is 2.067. 2.067, enter. Okay, so now I've got my inner diameter. The next thing I want is the pipe type, so I'm going to push menu 1-4, and I have an option here of the different kinds of pipe. In this case, I'm using PVC, so enter. The next thing I'm going to do is to push M20, M20, and that tells me the water or whatever my flow through the pipe is going to be. The next step is to determine the transducer type, which I've selected in advance. So I push menu 2-3 and I select the transducer type. There's quite a few different transducers available. In this case, I've selected the standard M1 transducers. The next step is to do my scale factor, which is menu 4-5, and I know my scale factor because it's on the transducer, so I put in the scale factor, which in this case is 0.95, so 0.95, enter. The next step I do is to do my transducer spacing, menu 2-5. My spacing is 0.912 inches. The flow meter has calculated what my spacer is based on the data that I put in. The next step I'm going to go to is my transducer mounting, and there's several issues here. Menu 2-4, and this is the mounting that I'm going to select and how I'm going to do it. And in this case, I'm going to use the V method, which is my transducers in line. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to mount the transducers, and the first thing I'm going to do is attach my cables to the flow meter, and I'm going to attach the blue cable to the blue section, which is the downstream. So I just insert that and hook the downstream transducer to that. And there's no particular way you do this, just be sure that you get the proper transducer to the proper colored cable so that you don't have any confusion. Okay, so I've got my transducers attached to the cables, and next thing I'm going to do is before I install the transducer, my next step is to put a dollop of petroleum jelly on the sensor side of the transducer, and in this case I'm using Vaseline. Do not use a water-based jelly. It's absolutely imperative you use a petroleum jelly. Okay, so now I've got my spacing. I know I'm using a 0.91 inches, and so I'm going to install the transducers. In this case, this is my downstream transducer. I can look here and just verify, and I'm going to hook this up, and I've got my cables already in place here. So I'm going to hook this up. I'm going to attach this, and I'm going to be using the V method as we spoke before. I'm not going to tighten that real tight because I'm going to have to move that to do my spacing. Now I'm going to hook my upstream transducer after I put some Vaseline on here. And you can see I don't move it all around. I just want to get a good dollop on there. And I'll hook it up here, put my cable clamps on, and you can clamp these on in a number of different methods. We're just using the cable clamps that come in the kit, and you could use zip ties, you can use anything you want. Okay, so I've just got these transducers mounted. Now I'm going to measure to see that I'm going to be my proper spacing, which is 0.91 inches. This spacing is important for accuracy. So I'm going to read this, and I'm reading it, and it's I need to move this just a little bit. Okay, good. So now I'll tighten this down. Just make it nice and secure. I don't need to break the pipe. It's important the pipe is free of paint, rust, insulation in the area where the transducers are attached. Okay, now we're ready to begin our flow, and I'm going to put the meter on M01, which puts me back to my base, and I'm going to turn the pump on, and the flow of the water through the pipe will start, and it'll start to show here on our meter face. This is a bit noisy. It takes just a few moments for the meter to settle in at the actual flow. In this case, we're at 13.49 gallons per minute, and it varies by a few thousandths because the pump is not absolutely stable. And so we have our gallons per minute and our feet per second. Now when I turn the flow of water off, the flow meter will go down, and it'll just go back down to zero. So we have our flow, we've got everything hooked up. We can leave them there, or we can go to the next pipe or whatever we need to do.